Monday morning meeting. The room fell silent after the boss's slip of the tongue, but I couldn't help bursting into laughter. The boss's face darkened. Lavinia Thornton, repeat what I just said 10 times. I was speechless. That evening, when I got home, things took an unexpected turn. My boss was on his knees while I stood with my hands on my hips. Milo Hawk, copy the rules of being a good husband 10 times, I commanded. He could only respond with silence. Story begins. Milo and I were in a business marriage. His family was wealthy, and so was mine. To become even richer, we joined forces. We've been married for 3 months, and I've started to develop a small problem. I think I like Milo Hawk. This should be perfectly normal, considering his face is the ultimate weapon, capable of making anyone surrender at first glance. Holding out for 3 months was already a testament to my willpower. In fact, this could be seen as a fortunate development. Having feelings for one's spouse usually leads to a more enduring marriage. However, there's a prenuptial agreement between us. Actually, we have several prenuptial agreements due to the complexity of our family's assets. The one I care about most is a private agreement between Milo and me about our married life. Milo's requirement was simple. Be a competent wife. I had 3 conditions for him. Keep personal life uncomplicated. Maintain a healthy lifestyle. Talk about money, not emotions. I confidently believed that even after marriage, I could live an independent, carefree life. But now, the one breaking the rules and developing feelings is me. It's quite a slap in the face. Looks can be a dangerous thing. Ever since I realized my feelings for Milo, I've felt awkward around him. I can't help but want to see him. Previously, we both went about our business at home without interfering with each other. He managed his company accounts, and I focused on my beauty routines. Now, I find it hard to concentrate. Knowing he's in the study, I feel compelled to bring him a plate of fruit or a cup of coffee. Milo took off his gold-rimmed glasses and rubbed his temples, then looked up at me. Need something? No, I quickly denied, then hesitated and added, Actually, yes. Go on, he said, leaning back in his chair and taking the coffee I handed him, then grimaced after a sip. Not to your taste? I asked. Too sweet, he replied. Puzzled, I thought I hadn't added much sugar. Under his urging gaze, I got to the point. I want to work at your company. Find me a position. This was a suggestion from my best friend. Living the leisurely life of a wealthy wife won't win over a workaholic like Milo. To make Milo fall for me, I need to be in his sight all the time. Not just in the evenings but during the day too. Can I be your secretary? I suggested, already knowing the answer. He choked on his drink and then stated bluntly, Not as my secretary. I pouted involuntarily. You can handle odd jobs in the secretary's office, he offered. I agreed, somewhat begrudgingly. At least I'd be close to his office. Soon, I became an employee in the general manager's office of the successful conglomerate. I looked at my badge, grinning at the general manager's office underneath my name. Being just a wall away from Milo's office made it easy to be around him. But soon, I realized the problem. No one could enter the general manager's office without a summons, and Milo rarely left his office. He called people in directly with an intercom. After a day without seeing even a shadow of Milo, I was discouraged. How could I win over my workaholic husband like this? I complained to my best friend, who advised me to think positively. Others take calls for important tasks. You didn't even touch a corner of a document today. Do you expect Milo Hawk to call you for flirting? The word flirting made me blush. If he dares call, I'll dare to flirt, I declared. To my surprise, Milo called shortly after I said that. The intercom rang, and his cold, textured voice came through. Bring me a cup of coffee. The phone clicked off before I could even think about flirting. I grumbled inwardly at Milo's audacity but complied, preparing his coffee in the break room. Knocking on his door, I announced, General Manager, your coffee. Put it here, he said, indicating a spot with a nod. I approached slowly, my eyes involuntarily drawn to Milo. Sitting behind his large desk, a wall of bookshelves framed his figure. He slightly bowed his head, holding a gold-edged pen and sketching something on paper. His perfectly tailored 3-piece suit still clung to him, and the dark blue striped tie was one I had tied for him that morning. Placing the coffee by his hand, I noticed his gaze on me. Are you adjusting well? A bit bored, I admitted honestly. I thought you'd prefer a more relaxed job, he replied. I think being busy is better, I said, hoping he would understand I wanted to be in his presence more. Got it, he nodded. Suddenly, I found myself busier. Delivering documents and coffee became my tasks, making my presence more noticeable to Milo. I was content with this arrangement. By winning over my colleagues with small gifts and afternoon teas, I finally earned a spot in their gossip sessions. During an afternoon break, someone teased, Lavinia Thornton, how did you feel the first time you saw Mr. Hawk's face? I was quite moved, I replied honestly. The first time I saw Milo was at my father's birthday party. He arrived late, carrying his suit jacket, dressed in just a shirt and vest, with a silver chain glinting at his chest. His slightly messy hair was caught in a sudden breeze, revealing his exquisite brow bone as he looked up. His presence seemed to outshine the entire party. Don't get too moved, a colleague joked, putting an arm around my shoulder. Mr. Hawk is married. Really? I feigned ignorance. Although our marriage was public, people only knew Milo Hawk had married the daughter of the Hope Group, not that the daughter was me. This was thanks to my parents' efforts to let me grow up healthy and happy. In the 3 months since the wedding, Mr. Hawk hasn't worked overtime once. He used to be known for his workaholic tendencies, using every minute of the day. I wanted to argue that Milo worked from home but stayed silent. Typical case of choosing love over career, another colleague said. We all think Mr. Hawk must be madly in love with his wife. Otherwise, why would he rush home every day instead of working late? Someone added. If only they knew the truth. In reality, I'm the one clocking in and out of work just to be with him. To win over Milo faster, I put great effort into my appearance. Professional outfits from various brands gradually took over a corner of my closet. I changed outfits daily, parading different styles in front of Milo. But this man, for some reason, remained indifferent. Still the same poker face, still the same workaholic demeanor, not even sparing me an extra glance. Frustrated, I met up with my best friend for drinks. Seeing my attire, she marveled. Milo Hawk must have strong willpower. You're such a beautiful woman, and he's not interested? Maybe he has a problem. She teased, making me laugh, but I also wondered if Milo might prefer men. I haven't heard anything like that, Mary Hill analyzed. If he did, there'd be some rumors. I agreed, pouting in frustration. Mary comforted me. Why not change your strategy? If you really like him, pursue him. It doesn't matter who chases who, as long as you end up together. No way, I rejected firmly. Just like no one undresses themselves on the bed, no man of mine gets chased by me first. Mary laughed. What kind of twisted logic is that? It's about saving face, I explained. Our prenuptial agreement was clear. No feelings, only business. I couldn't just start pursuing him after 3 months. I needed Milo to chase me first. Mary suggested, why not pretend to be drunk and test him? I immediately agreed, nodding. Mary called Milo, explaining I was drunk and causing a scene, urging him to come to the bar. He agreed with a simple, okay. While waiting, I worried, what if he sends the driver instead? Then he's not worth it, Mary declared. I agreed, touching up my makeup to look slightly flushed and teary-eyed, mimicking the effects of alcohol. When Mary's phone rang, I quickly slumped over the table. Milo appeared at the bar entrance, his hair slightly damp as if he'd just showered, dressed casually in loungewear and slippers. He strode over, phone in hand. Feigning drunkenness, I clung to Milo as he wrapped an arm around me, asking Mary, why is she so drunk? She must be troubled, Mary replied seriously, almost making me laugh. I clung to Milo's neck, breathing softly. Milo's hand tightened around my waist, and I felt goosebumps rise where my breath touched his neck. Clearing his throat, he asked Mary, do you need a ride home? Mary shook her head. No, my boyfriend's coming. We'll wait for him then, Milo said. Once Mary's boyfriend arrived, Milo fetched a blanket from the bar, wrapped it around me, and carried me out in a princess carry. Nestled against his neck, I decided to follow through with our plan, murmuring, put me down, I want to drink more. He was momentarily stunned, as if his entire body had frozen. His jaw tightened as he spat out 2 words, not allowed. His tone was icy. I felt a surge of anger. What was this? I had been playful, and yet he responded like this. It was clear he didn't like me. I struggled to get down, but he wouldn't let go. He carried me out of the bar, half dragging, half carrying me to the door. Perhaps he was annoyed too, because he pinned me against the wall, his hands gripping my waist, his breath harsh, eyes fixed on me with a fiery intensity. I turned my head away, not wanting to look at him. He grabbed my chin, forcing me to face him, and spoke each word with deliberate seriousness. From now on, no more drinking outside. I just stared at him, my eyes wandering over his delicate brows, the bridge of his nose, and his lips that looked so kissable. Why were they so red? Suddenly, his Adam's apple bobbed, and his gaze grew more dangerous. In that moment I understood. This man was still very much capable. After that night at the bar, there was still no significant progress between Milo Hawk and me. But I was brimming with confidence. After all, he now seemed more approachable, almost as if he had the words, "Conquer me," written on his forehead. However, before I could win Milo over, I ended up charming the colleagues in the general manager's office. Milo had 2 male assistants who were his go-to for business trips. One married, one single. The single one seemed to have taken a liking to me. I was sure I hadn't done anything to encourage this. We had barely spoken, yet he kept trying to get close to me, gifting me small, delicate presents and blushing whenever our eyes met. It's funny how the flowers you plant with care don't bloom, but the weeds grow strong without any effort. Not wanting any unnecessary trouble, I wore my wedding ring to work the next day, subtly indicating my marital status. In the midst of busy and fulfilling days, we celebrated Milo Hawk's grandfather's 80th birthday. The party was held in the main hall of the Hawk family estate. Milo and I arrived early, hand in hand, playing the part of a loving newlywed couple, greeting each guest who came to offer their wishes. After a few rounds of drinks, Milo leaned in close and asked, "Are you all right?" I was, but I wanted to act cute, so I mumbled, "A little tired." "Go rest for a while," he said, taking the glass from my hand, which looked like wine but was actually water. "I've got it covered from here." I looked at him. A good wife shouldn't be absent at times like this. He smiled suddenly. "You've been excellent tonight." Satisfied with his response, I left, retreating to the lounge to rub my sore legs. 12-centimeter heels were not meant for humans. After a short rest and a touch-up of my makeup, I stepped out of the lounge and ran into my childhood friend, Wilder Hadley. I pretended not to see him and walked past. He quickly caught up, a fawning smile on his face. "What's this? Don't recognize me after a few years? Pretending not to see me?" I crossed my arms and looked at him. "Are we that close?" He laughed. "We grew up together, didn't we? And you didn't even come to my wedding. What kind of friend is that?" He explained, "I was abroad, really busy at the time. I'm sorry, okay? What can I do to make it up to you?" "Humph," I pouted. I was genuinely annoyed but also willing to forgive. Since Wilder Hadley was so earnest, I had to play along and act a bit more upset. A few words later, the awkwardness between us melted away. As we walked back to the banquet hall, he asked, "Milo Hawk must be proud to have married you, right?" "What do you mean?" "To marry the one he loves, he must be very proud." "What?" He hesitated for a few seconds. "You don't know?" His face showed an expression of shock, as if he had said something he shouldn't have. Realization dawned on me. "You mean Milo Hawk has always liked me?" "I didn't say anything." He quickly covered his mouth. I stared at him, pretending to be stern. After a few seconds, he relented. "Yes, but you can't tell Milo that I told you." From his story, I learned a whole new version of events. Apparently, Milo had always had a crush on me, and our family's union was orchestrated by him. This scheming man. I had wondered why he would lounge around after a shower with his shirt half open, showing off his abs. Turns out, it was all for me. He had been trying to bait me all along. I foolishly fell into his trap, not only liking him but also trying hard to win his affection. What a blunder. I took a deep breath to calm my racing heart before returning to the banquet hall. The hall was bustling. Milo stood next to his grandfather, the guest of honor, holding a glass of wine and chatting with guests. His tall, upright figure was so handsome it was almost unfair. I called out to him sweetly, "Honey." He visibly jolted, even spilling some of his wine. Holding back my laughter, I quickly approached, determined to see who would outplay whom. In the months since our marriage, I had never called Milo honey. I usually called him by his name or omitted any address altogether. That first honey seemed to hit him hard. He didn't recover for a long time. As he continued greeting guests, his face grew stiff, his nods and smiles automatic, and he kept glancing my way. I hid my mischievous smile, tilting my head and winking at him. He quickly looked away, his flustered expression utterly charming. This was too much fun. When the guests had left, he pulled me into a corner, lowering his voice. "What was that all about?" "Just showing affection," I said innocently. "Wouldn't Grandpa be happier to see us being a loving couple? Or do you not like it?" He cleared his throat. "I just wasn't prepared." "You'll get used to it," I said, linking my arm with his and watching his reaction out of the corner of my eye. I tested him again. "Honey?" "Yes," he replied, face stoic. I pouted slightly. This guy was clearly enjoying it, even if he didn't show it. Realizing that Milo had always liked me made me see his poker face as a protective mask. Beneath it lay his deeply hidden affection. Delivering coffee to his office, I couldn't resist teasing him. "Honey, your coffee." His pen slipped, leaving a noticeable mark on the paper. He looked at me, holding back his frustration. "Don't call me that at work." "Okay," I agreed, urging him. "Try the coffee." He took a sip, and I lingered, leaning on his desk and watching him closely. After just 5 seconds he cracked. What is it?" I suppressed a laugh. "Only 5 seconds?" Shaking my head slowly, I pretended to be curious. "Where are your glasses? Why aren't you wearing them today?" "They were poking my eyelashes," he said. "And my eyes aren't tired yet." Switching to an adoring tone, I said, "But you look so handsome with them." "Oh," he responded indifferently, as if it didn't matter, and took another sip of coffee. Later, when I went to deliver some documents, he was already wearing his gold-rimmed glasses, focused on his paperwork. His serious demeanor with a touch of restrained allure was incredibly attractive. Damn it. Knowing he was baiting me, I still fell for it. Repeating a mantra to stay calm, I placed the documents on his desk. "Wilder Hadley is treating tonight, so I won't be home for dinner." He looked at me, scanning me up and down. "Do you want to go home and change first?" White shirt, gray pencil skirt, nude heels. Not exactly appropriate for a friend's gathering. I nodded. He then suggested, "Let's go together." I let Ben go home early today. Ben was his driver. I hesitated. "But if you get in my car at the office, it will be noticeable." He was easygoing. "I can walk to the street corner near the office." I still hesitated. After a brief pause, he suddenly winked at me and softened his voice. "Please take me with you." What the heck? Using his charm on me. I couldn't refuse. Eventually, he ended up driving me home, taking me to the gathering, and after much insistence from Wilder and the others, joining us for dinner. Having witnessed the entire scene, I could only think, men. They can be such actors. The gathering was held at Wilder Hadley's hotel. We chose a round table and started with dinner, with Milo sitting to my right. He kept glancing at my waist, making it hard for me to eat without laughing. For casual gatherings with friends, I preferred comfort. Today, I wore a short white t-shirt and wide-leg pants. The shirt wasn't too short, but when reaching for food, it would lift slightly, exposing my waist. Seeing his keen interest, I tied a knot on the left side of my shirt, slimming my waist and showing it off at the same time. Soon, Milo leaned in and whispered, "Are you cold?" I shook my head, holding back laughter. No. I thought, if he could casually show his abs to me, why couldn't I show a bit of waist? Just then a teasing voice chimed in. "What are you two whispering about? Share with the class." It was Alaric Huxley, the playboy who once pursued me. I hadn't been interested, given his habit of changing girlfriends more often than his clothes. "Are you embarrassed to hear bedroom talk?" I shot back. "Not at all. Who here wouldn't want to hear?" He grinned, adding, "How did Milo Hawk manage to win over such a beauty? Come on, Mr. Hawk, share your secrets." I was about to snap back when Wilder Hadley intervened. "Get lost. Alaric. With your track record, do you think you can compare to Milo? Why don't you clean up your own mess first?" Wilder Hadley had probably had too much to drink. Normally he was quite reserved, but tonight he was uncharacteristically blunt and unrestrained. I may not compare, but surely someone at this table can, Alaric Huxley drawled lazily. Wilder Hadley continued, no one here compares to Milo Hawke. His voice was full of fervor. Milo has genuinely loved Lavinia for years. That's real love, unlike your childish flings that would only make people laugh. As Wilder kept talking, I had only one thought. It's out in the open now. I glanced at Milo Hawke and found him looking at me too, his expression a mix of panic and tension. I swallowed nervously, still unsure of what to say, when Wilder turned to me and asked, Lavinia, don't you agree? Ah. I hadn't been paying attention at all, but with everyone looking at me, I had no choice but to nod randomly. See, what did I tell you? Wilder said proudly. Milo suddenly grabbed my wrist tightly and without a word, pulled me out of the private room. Still a bit dazed, I followed him, wondering if Wilder had really said something he shouldn't have. There was a lounge between the private rooms. Milo opened one of the doors, ushered me inside, locked it, and trapped me between his arms. He looked down at me, his eyes dark and intense. The atmosphere made me inexplicably nervous, and I shrank back slightly. With a hoarse voice he asked, Have you always known I liked you? I blinked in confusion. I found out on Grandpa's birthday. He stared at me, his gaze growing deeper. Just as I was about to say something to ease the tension, he lifted my chin with his right hand and lowered his head, capturing my lips in a kiss. My eyes widened in surprise. After a few seconds, I silently cursed. Damn man, so forceful. After the kiss, I didn't dare return to the private room. My lips were red, my legs were weak, and my clothes were disheveled. Milo went back to get my bag, and I don't know what he told the others, but he took my hand and said with a smirk, all sorted. In a daze, I let him lead me home. At home, the housekeeper had made a bowl of papaya and white fungus soup and asked if I wanted some. I nodded. She placed the soup on the dining table, and I sat down, ready to take a sip when Milo picked it up, took my hand, and led me upstairs to my room. He put the soup aside and pushed me onto the single sofa, bending down to kiss me again. Overwhelmed, I pushed him away. Wait, let's talk first. He paused, nodded, and pulled up a small stool, sitting beside my legs. As I sipped the soup I asked, Was our marriage your doing? He nodded slowly. I smiled. When did you start liking me? In high school, he replied. I was puzzled. We didn't know each other then. He said. You didn't know me. I was curious. Why didn't you pursue me then? Milo was straightforward. At the time, it would have been reaching too high. I remembered that the success group had only recently become powerful. Their family had been on the rise, while ours was on the decline. Our marriage was meant to seal a major deal, and my family was benefiting from theirs. I muttered. You could have told me after we got married. Prenuptial agreement, he said with a smile. If I confessed and you wanted a divorce, what would I do then? I wasn't that unreasonable. Having disliked the prenuptial agreement for a while, I casually said, let's redo it. He nodded. Okay. He seemed prepared, bringing out paper and pen. As he wrote, he paused several times, looking at me. I put down my soup and called out, What are you looking at? Write your conditions. I have no conditions as long as it's you, he said. Surprisingly quick with his words. This man was learning fast. I glared at him, took the pen and wrote out a list. No lying, no being mean, no hiding things from me. After listing 8 conditions, I looked at the paper and said, Might as well call it the wife rules. Milo nodded. That works. He took the agreement and asked, Do I sign here? His straightforward and submissive attitude made me hesitate. I covered the paper with my hand. Are you sure you don't want to think about it? He signed it decisively and looked at me. You don't know how long I've waited for this day. This man was indeed good with words. I smiled and kissed him on the cheek. After finishing the soup and revising the agreement, I decided to confront him about his recent cold behavior. First question. Why did you dislike my coffee? I didn't add that much sugar. I secretly tasted it. It wasn't too sweet. Because you made it, it's always sweet, he replied. Okay, I'll let that one slide. Second question. Why could I only do odd jobs in the secretary's office? Why couldn't I be your secretary? You clearly look down on me. Injustice, he said. If you were my secretary, I'd never get any work done. My mind would be full of you. That's my problem. Okay, you pass again. As I was about to list more grievances, like his constant overtime and workaholic tendencies, he suddenly pressed down on me, his voice hoarse. Can I stay tonight? I kicked him away playfully. No, go back to your room and work. First day of working while dating after marriage. Milo insisted on going to the company with me, but I refused outright. I didn't want to expose our relationship, especially since I wanted to keep participating in the office gossip. During work, the intercom rang. I picked up and asked, Mr. Hawk, do you need coffee? I miss you, he replied. Merowy Hill had been right. This man was flirting over the intercom. Blushing under everyone's gaze, I continued seriously. Which document do you need? I'll bring it to you. I missed you so much. I signed the last document with your name. I covered my mouth and hissed, Milo Hawk. He laughed, his voice rich and soothing, like wine trickling into my heart. Unintentionally, I felt sweetness and smiled. He said, There's a meeting at 10. Come take the minutes. Okay, I replied professionally. He added, Actually, I just want to see you. Meetings are boring. Seeing you makes them better. This man. I wanted to scold him but feared drawing attention in the office. Suppressing my anger, I grabbed a document and knocked on his office door. He seemed to be waiting, arms open for an embrace. I placed the document on his desk, feigning sternness. Be serious at work. He pulled me onto his lap, whispering, I've wanted to be improper for a long time. This wasn't the right time or place. I quickly changed the subject. Where's Assistant Lee? I haven't seen him recently. On a business trip, he said. I was puzzled. He seems to be on a lot of trips lately. Usually, Assistant Smith and Assistant Brown alternated trips. I suddenly realized. You know, don't you? He replied confidently. He has feelings for you. I punched his chest. I've already dealt with it. Not reassured, he said. There's a project in another province. I'll transfer him there as the lead. That sounded like a promotion, so I let it go. Then Milo suddenly grew jealous. You dare mention other men. I must punish you. He wrapped his arms around my waist, kissing along my ear. When I left his office, I felt embarrassed, head down, covering my face with a file, and quickly returned to my desk. After that meeting, Milo always called me for subsequent meetings. After spending a weekend with Milo, getting up on Monday was hard. I was tired and sore. At 10 in the morning, I yawned as I entered the meeting room with everyone else. Department heads took turns speaking, discussing progress. I took notes, struggling to stay awake. The project manager's voice was like my high school history teacher's, putting me to sleep. I jolted awake as my head dropped. A soft laugh reached my ears. I turned to see Milo watching me, amused. I glared at him. If not for him, I wouldn't be suffering this. He wrote something on a paper and slid it to me. I glanced at it. Drool. Really? I wiped my mouth hastily. No drool. Just a clean face. He tricked me. I glared at him again. He laughed, annoyingly bright. The project manager finished, and Milo began to speak. He adjusted the microphone and cleared his throat. Well, this drool. Silence fell. Recalling his prank, I burst into laughter. Humph, finally, he embarrassed himself. Milo, serious-faced, looked at me with interest. Lavinia Thornton, repeat what I just said 10 times. No one wanted to hear drool 10 times, and I didn't want to relive the embarrassment. I felt mortified. That day, the company forum and group chats buzzed with talk of my drool incident. Why did Mr. Hawk mention drool in the meeting? Does drool mean what I think it means? Can someone tell me what it's like to repeat drool 10 times in front of the execs? Oh my God, my toes are curling in second-hand embarrassment. The hot thread continued to circulate, and the topic rotated, but it all centered around the incident with the drool. I had become quite famous in the company. Having never experienced such public embarrassment before, I decided to ignore Milo Hawk completely. No matter how much he tried to cajole me, I would not speak to him. I declared a one-day Cold War. That night, Milo sneaked into my room. I turned away, focusing on my skincare routine, not even glancing at him. Unexpectedly, he knelt down at my feet with a thud and said, "Honey, I was wrong." I was somewhat stunned but still refused to look at him. He handed me a piece of paper, which turned out to be the prenuptial agreement. "I added a new clause without your permission. See if you're satisfied," he said. I glanced at it briefly. No embarrassing the wife in public. It was acceptable, but I still didn't plan to forgive him. Then I noticed the bold title at the top, Wife Rules. With a sense of vindication I said, "Milo Hawk, copy the wife rules 10 times. He looked up. "Will you forgive me if I do?" I remained silent, though I had already cooled down. He suggested, "Why don't you record a video of me copying them and post it on the company intranet? Then we'll both be embarrassed together." I wasn't falling for that. "You just want to go public, don't you?" He nodded as if it was the most natural thing. "We're married. Why can't we go public?" The hesitation was actually on my part. Going public with Milo would mean losing the freedom I enjoyed at the company. The situation flipped. Now I was the one trying to placate him. But Milo was easy to appease. A few kisses were enough. Another night of cuddling and sweetness passed. In no time, I had been working at Success Group for over 2 months. Not only had I made smart and lovely colleagues, but my relationship with Milo had also advanced by leaps and bounds. One night, as Milo and I lay in bed arguing about who had pursued who more aggressively, my phone pinged. I snapped, "I'll deal with you later." The message was from a colleague, Sansa Leonardo, and it included a chat record. Sansa Leonardo. "Lavinia, is this true?" Sansa Leonardo. "I don't believe it, but someone took photos." Sansa Leonardo. "Maybe you should clarify in the company group chat." I opened the chat record and saw several photos. There were pictures of Milo getting into my car at the street corner, me getting into his car, him kissing me kissing him. Sweet moments amidst the traffic. I kicked Milo. "It's all your fault. We've been exposed." He leaned in, putting an arm around my shoulders, looking at the chat record with me. The comments that followed were quite unpleasant. They suggested I dressed provocatively to seduce Milo, accusing me of being a mistress disguised as a pure and innocent woman. His expression turned serious as he grabbed his phone. "I'll have someone investigate. I'll handle this. Forget it. Let's just go public," I said. The best way to solve this was to let everyone know we were already a couple, erasing any notions of impropriety. He glanced at me, then pulled out our marriage certificate from under his pillow. "I'll make it public right now." I suspected he had been waiting for this moment for a long time. Otherwise, why would he keep our marriage certificate under his pillow? He took a photo of it. I assumed he was going to post it on social media, and didn't pay much attention as I replied to Sansa. "Lavinia Thornton. Actually, I'm your boss's wife. Sansa Leonardo." "Ah?" "Sansa Leonardo. Say more. I'm freaking out here." I laughed and took a photo of the marriage certificate to send to her. "Lavinia Thornton. Do you believe me now?" Sansa Leonardo. "OMG. Sansa Leonardo. The boss's wife has been right next to me." We chatted for a while longer until she asked, "Should I help post this photo in the group to clear things up?" I replied, "Sure." But a moment later, she sent another message. "Never mind, Mr. Hawk already clarified it." She attached a screenshot. I opened it and was stunned. Milo had posted the photo of our marriage certificate on the company intranet. Amid all the formal plans, documents, announcements, and notifications, there was a glaring photo of our marriage certificate. This was embarrassing beyond belief. For the first time in my life, I dreaded going to work. But thinking of my lovely colleagues, I dragged myself out of bed. I decided it might be my last day at work, just to say goodbye. Milo comforted me all the way to the company, saying there was nothing to worry about and that showing some love as a legal couple was no big deal. While showing affection as a married couple wasn't an issue, flaunting it on the company intranet was over the top. Did he think being the general manager made him special? Milo's car pulled into the company parking lot. We took the private elevator to the office door. I thought I'd managed to avoid my colleagues' teasing, but as soon as I stepped out, I saw a bright red banner hanging at the general manager's office door. "Warm welcome to the boss's wife for inspecting the work." So tacky, so over the top, and so hilarious. Milo burst into laughter beside me. Patting my shoulder, he said through his laughter, "Go on, boss's wife, inspect the work." Suppressing my embarrassment, I walked into the office, greeted by enthusiastic cheers and applause from my colleagues. It was awkward, but not as bad as I'd imagined. I made my way to my desk and sat down slowly. As the morning passed, my colleagues remained friendly, addressing the topic of the boss's wife without avoiding it, but without being overly familiar either. It was not as scary as I had anticipated. Everything was pretty good. Except for Milo. His thick-skinned behavior reached new heights as he called other colleagues via the intercom, saying things like, "Ask the boss's wife to bring in the document." Who says things like that? Blushing furiously, I stormed into his office to confront him, declaring that we wouldn't be having lunch together. I ended up having lunch with my colleagues in the company cafeteria. Just as I was calming down, a small gift reignited my emotions. After serving my meal, the cafeteria lady handed me a delicate paper bag, smiling. "It's from the boss's wife. Thank her." I was stunned, my voice faint. "Thank you, boss's wife." Nearby, Sansa and some informed colleagues burst out laughing. I glared at them, trying to suppress the embarrassed feeling, took the bag, and followed them to the table. Each bag contained new electronic gadgets, luxury skincare products, candies, and small trinkets suitable for all ages. I had no idea about this. It was clearly Milo's arrangement. Throughout lunch, colleagues recognized me, greeting me with smiles and always ending with a "Thank you, boss's wife." It was certainly a unique and special work experience. In the afternoon, I went to HR to resign. They seemed to fast-track my process, and it was done in minutes. Feeling lighthearted without a job, I marched in my high heels straight to Milo's office. I pushed open the door and walked in. Milo sat behind his large desk, smiling as he teased, "What kind of secretary doesn't knock before entering?" I smirked. "I'm the boss's wife now." "Oh," he said. "What brings the boss's wife here?" I walked up to him, smiling, "Checking if you have any mistresses hidden here." He pulled me onto his lap. "You are my mistress." I playfully hit him. Seeing the piles of documents on his desk, I complained, "When will you be done with work?" He quickly caught on. "Does the boss's wife have plans?" I patted my wallet. "Payday. I'm treating you to dinner." He immediately said, "Then I'd better hurry with work. I can't disappoint the boss's wife." Workday ends. I stayed with Milo at work until 6 in the evening. Finally done, we held hands as we walked to the company parking lot. The car drove away from Success Group. Looking at the sky tinged with red hues, I thought about my brief journey at the company. Catching a perfect husband. Totally worth it. The end.